Good morning, students. Welcome to part 2 of chapter number 6, Life Processes. Today, our first topic is heterotropic nutrition. What do you mean by heterotropic nutrition? If you see, heterotropic word is a combination of two words. Hetero means other and tropy means nutrition. The mode of nutrition in which the organisms cannot synthesize their own food and depend on energy obtained from the intake and digestion of organic substances prepared by autotrophs and other organic sources is known as heterotropic mode of nutrition. Heterotropic mode of nutrition is further divided into three: saprophytic mode of nutrition, parasitic mode of nutrition, and holozoic mode of nutrition. Saprophytic mode of nutrition. Saprophytic word is a combination of two words. Sapro means rotten and phyte means to eat. Hence, saprophytic nutrition is a mode of heterotropic nutrition in which organisms derive nutrients from the dead and decaying organic matter. They absorb through their body surface organic fluids formed due to putrefaction of dead organisms. Organisms having saprophytic mode of nutrition are known as saprophytes. Example: mushroom, bacteria, mucor. Second, parasitic mode of nutrition. Parasitic mode of nutrition is the second type of heterotropic mode of nutrition. In this, the energy is gained by the organism from the body of another living organism without killing it. A parasite is an organism which derives its food from the body of another living organism called the host. The host is not benefited by the parasite. A host can be a plant or an animal. Most diseases which affect man, crops, and domestic animals is caused due to parasites. Example: Plasmodium, Ascaris, and plants like Cuscuta. The third type of heterotropic nutrition is holozoic nutrition. Holozoic nutrition is a mode of nutrition in which the organism takes the complex food material into its body by the process of ingestion, which is then digested, absorbed, assimilated in the body cells of the organisms. Topic is nutrition in amoeba. Amoeba is a unicellular organism. The mode of nutrition carried out by amoeba is holozoic. The process of obtaining food in amoeba is known as phagocytosis. Nutrition in amoeba involves the following four steps: ingestion, digestion, assimilation, egestion. First, ingestion. It involves the intake of food. There is no mouth or fixed place for the intake of food. When a food particle comes near amoeba, it sends out temporary finger-like projection called pseudopodia around it. The food particle gets surrounded by the encircling pseudopodia, which touch each other by their tips. Next, the membrane closer to the food particle gets dissolved and the food particle is captured along with lysosome into the cell-forming food vacuole. Second, digestion. The digestive enzymes from the surrounding cytoplasm enter into the food vacuole and break down the food into small and soluble molecules. Third, assimilation. The digested food components are soluble and easily dissolved into the cytoplasm through the membrane of the food vacuole. It is then utilized by the cell. Ingestion. A portion of food which is not digested and assimilated remains in the food vacuole. The vacuole slowly moves towards the surface and the undigested food is thrown out of the body. The topic is human digestive system. The digestive system of human consists of alimentary canal and its associated glands. The human digestive organs are mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and associated glands like salivary glands, liver, and pancreas. The mouth is the special organ for ingestion of food. With the help of the hands, the food is put into the mouth. The digestion of food starts as soon as we put the food in our mouth. The mouth cavity contains teeth, tongue, and salivary glands. The teeth cut the food into small pieces, chew, and grind it. The salivary glands secretes the saliva in our mouth. The tongue mixes the food with saliva. Saliva is a watery liquid, so it wets the food in mouth. The wetted food is swallowed easily. The salivary gland secretes an enzyme called amylase which digests the starch of food into maltose. Thus, digestion of starch begins from mouth. As the food remains in the mouth for a short time, the digestion of food is incomplete in mouth. The partly digested food in the mouth goes down to esophagus, where a flap of skin is present which prevents the food from going to the windpipe. Now, food is carried from esophagus to the stomach. The stomach present on the left hand side of abdomen. The food is churned in the stomach for nearly 3 hours. The food breaks into small pieces and converts into semi-solid paste. The wall of the stomach contains 3 tubular glands which secrete gastric juices. The gastric juice contain dilute hydrochloric acid, enzyme pepsinogen, and mucus. The mucus protects the stomach wall from its own secretion of hydrochloric acid and pepsin. The hydrochloric acid makes the acidic medium in stomach. It also kills bacteria which enter the stomach with food. In acidic medium, the enzyme pepsin digests protein present in the food and convert it into small molecules. The digestion of protein begins in stomach. The partly digested food then goes from the stomach into small intestine. The exit of the food from the stomach is regulated by sphincter muscle. The small intestine is the largest part of our alimentary canal, and in an adult it is about 6.5 meters long. The length of the small intestine differs in various animals depending on the type of food they eat. Herbivorous animals eating grass need a longer small intestine to digest the cellulose present in the glass. The meat is easy to digest, so the carnivorous animals have shorter small intestine. The small intestine in man is the site of complete digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. The small intestine receives the secretion from the liver and pancreas. The liver secretes bile, which is a greenish yellow liquid and normally stored in gallbladder. The bile is alkaline in nature and contains salt. It makes the acidic food coming from the stomach alkaline so that the pancreatic enzymes can act on it. Bile salts break the fats present in the food into small globules, making it easy for the enzyme to act and digest them. The pancreas secretes pancreatic juices which contain enzymes like amylase, trypsin, and lipase. The enzyme amylase digests starch, the trypsin digests proteins, and lipase digests fats. The glands of the wall of small intestine secrete intestinal juice. The intestinal juice contains various enzymes which complete the digestion of carbohydrates into glucose, protein into amino acids, and fats into fatty acids and glycerol. After complete digestion, the small intestine becomes the main site for the absorption of digested food. The inner wall of the small intestine has millions of small finger-like projections called villi. The presence of villi increases the surface of the small intestine. This helps in the rapid absorption of digested food. The absorbed digested food passes through the wall of the small intestine and goes into our blood. The blood carries digested food to all the parts of the body where it is assimilated as a part of the cells. The assimilated food is used by all the cells where it is utilized for energy, growth, and repair of body. The undigested food passes from the small intestine to large intestine where most of the water from the undigested food is absorbed. Now the undigested food becomes almost solid and is removed from the body via anus. The exit of the waste material is regulated by the muscles of anus. Next topic is respiration. Cells, in order to perform various functions, require energy. This energy is derived by the oxidation of food. The process of releasing energy from food is called respiration. The process of respiration involves intake of oxygenated air into the cell, using it for releasing energy by burning of food, and then removal of carbon dioxide and water from the body. During the process of respiration, energy is released inside the cells, so it is known as cellular respiration. There are two types of respiration: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration. The respiration which takes place in the presence of oxygen is known as aerobic respiration. The aerobic respiration takes place in the cell, so it is known as cellular respiration. During this, glucose is broken down into carbon dioxide and water in the presence of oxygen. The energy released in the process is stored in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Second, anaerobic respiration. The respiration which takes place in the absence of oxygen is known as anaerobic respiration. It is seen in microorganisms like bacteria, yeast, fungi, and muscle cells. In anaerobic respiration, the microorganisms break down glucose into ethanol and carbon dioxide and release energy. Carbon dioxide and ethanol are formed as end products in plants, while lactic acid is an end product in the muscles of animals. The two equations are given below. Difference between aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration takes place in the presence of oxygen. Anaerobic respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen. End products of aerobic respiration are carbon dioxide and water. End products of anaerobic respirations are ethanol or lactic acid. It takes place in cytoplasm and mitochondria. It takes place only in cytoplasm. Aerobic respiration produces a considerable amount of energy. Much less energy is produced in anaerobic respiration. Now, in plants, the leaves of the plants have small pores called stomata. The exchange of respiratory gases by the process of diffusion takes place through stomata. In leaves, during daytime, when photosynthesis occurs, oxygen diffuses out and carbon dioxide diffuses in. But at night time, no photosynthesis occurs. So oxygen diffuses in and carbon dioxide diffuses out. Respiration in various animals. In unicellular animals like amoeba, respiration takes place in cell membrane by diffusion of gases. In earthworm, the respiratory organ is skin. In insects, trachea are the respiratory organs. The aquatic animals like fish, prawns, crabs have gills as respiratory organs which obtain oxygen dissolved in water. In frog, lizard, bird and human beings, lungs are present as respiratory organ. This topic is respiration in human beings. Human respiratory system consists of nostril, nasal passage, pharynx, laryngopharynx, trachea, bronchi, lungs and diaphragm. Nostrils open into nasal cavity. The air for respiration is drawn into our body through nostrils. This air then goes into the nasal cavity. The nasal cavity is lined by fine hairs and mucus. The dust particles and microbes in the air get trapped in mucus of the nasal cavity. Nasal cavity ends in internal nostril through which air passes to pharynx. The pharynx leads to trachea through a slit called glottis. Glottis is protected by a cartilaginous flap like epiglottis. While swallowing food, glottis is covered by epiglottis so that the food cannot enter the trachea. Trachea does not collapse even when there is no air because it is supported by C-shaped cartilaginous ring. At the upper end of trachea, a voice box known as larynx is present. Trachea runs down the neck and divides into two bronchi, which leads into the lungs. Each bronchus divides into lungs and forms many smaller bronchioles. The smallest bronchioles terminate into alveoli. The walls of the alveoli is thin and covered by blood capillaries. In alveoli, the various exchange of gases takes place. This topic is mechanism of breathing. When the diaphragm pulls down and rib muscles contract, the volume inside the thoracic cavity increases and air pressure inside the chest cavity decreases. Hence, air from outside rushes into the lungs. So the alveoli gets filled with oxygen-rich air and exchange of gases takes place. When the diaphragm moves up, that is relaxes, the volume inside the thoracic cavity decreases and thus the pressure increases. So, air containing carbon dioxide is pushed out of the lung into the atmosphere through nostrils.